kind of fun with the high gain stuff. I never get to do that. Welcome to Eugene and Dylan's guitar show. Am I out of frame?
Yeah, you're a little.
I got taller. I know my body, and I'm still growing, Dylan.
Well, we hope so.
Yeah.
We've been
What? Yeah, just not emotionally.
waiting.
Honestly, this is the same chair. You know what? The camera adds 10 pounds to the hair.
That's the thing about humidity.
That's right.
It has nothing to do with this.
I'm Eugene Edwards over here, and that's Dr. Dylan Caligiuri right over there.
Hey there.
And speaking of humidity, or non, actually, I was in Phoenix for a couple of days.
So lack
no
of
humidity, baby.
Yeah.
I had a pool day. I was out there in the pool, I getting roasty toasty, and I had dinner with my baby brother, Mark. Hi, brother. And
Mark, hey, Mark.
And the casino was really nice. They comped us quite a bit on the dinner, and they brought out, like, for an appetizer, like Neptune's platter. It was a huge. It was like the cast of The Little Mermaid was cut in half and put on ice for us. It was lovely.
Wow.
Yeah, it was great. So today we're doing a deep dive on Michael Jackson's "Beat It," right? And I'm not going to do all the little trivia stuff I normally do in the background and the whole setup stuff because there's a lot of guitar to go over, and we tend to run short. But I'm going to hand the controls mostly to Dylan because Dylan actually plays this song, and the solo, more to the point, quite often, I think, because you play with a Michael Jackson act.
Yeah.
This is it?
This was it.
It's
a contraction.
See what he did?
See? Yeah.
This was it.
This is it means I'm not sure.
That's a Kenny
I'm not sure what
Loggins
the
tribute
difference is.
thing.
Yeah.
So this now, by the way, we're just going to warn people on the record. They're tuned down half a step, so it's in E flat. That's the actual pitch of the record. We have to do the workshop right after this from 6 to 7, learn on till. Link in the bio. Please sign up. We still have room. And so we're not going to go through like tuning down half a step and all that stuff. So we're going to be playing it out of normal E. But just know that if it doesn't sound quite like the record, that's what's going on. So Eddie Van Halen plays a solo, obviously. Steve Lukather pretty much plays all the other parts.
I think he plays all the other guitar parts.
He had to. There is trivia about there was a technical snafu with some tape machines.
Yes.
And so Quincy Jones told Steve Lukather, "You gotta save me here." It's you. So yeah, Jeff Porcaro had to make his own click track because they just had.
I heard that. I
Eddie's
remember.
lead guitar, Michael playing like a suitcase on beat 2 and 4, or a road case probably. And
that's an important distinction, though.
Although it's great because
I want to know.
It's a whole thing. There, if you look on YouTube, there's Steve Lukather tells a story in a certain spots, and it's pretty funny. But anyway, so how do you go around learning?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, let's talk about the basics, I guess. We've got like a 2-chord motif, right? And a great lick that goes over that. So the 2-chord motif, I can handle that as power chords. It's basically an E power chord to a D power chord.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got that.
Right.
But now Dylan has to take over here. So then show us the big riff. The big
riff.
Yeah.
The riff that heard around the world.
It really is. So it kind of is an arpeggio. It's kind of an E minor arpeggio.
It'd be like an E minor arpeggio, and it's got the third, the fifth, and the root. It's like
that's
pretty much it.
Yeah,
the type of thing. That's all you get.
And then over the D chord,
he's got the F sharp in there.
Okay,
so 2, 3, 4. But here's the thing that makes this this work, because it's all of Michael Jackson's music is like, people oftentimes will say, what's it like playing all that music, and these are great shows, and the guy that does it is really fantastic. His name's Christian Robinson. He's quite impressive.
Tons of talent.
devotes himself pretty insanely to that. So I'm panned hard to the left. Let's see if I can fix that.
Are you?
You know.
Oh, hey, I like it. We got some engineers out there that kind of noticed that. The mermaid. Yes, yeah.
Hard
well,
to the left.
I was inspired. What was that tasty? Was a tasty seafood platter there? Was someone? And is there someone like someone was watching from Indiana? I saw earlier in the chat. I just want to say, your Pacers look pretty good. I don't know. I kind of like the Pacers' chance in this round. Just going a little sports there on you. So I'm sorry. So you're about playing Michael Jackson's music.
So it's a rhythm and blues gig. Like even this song, if you think about it, just take the reverb away for a minute. It's all about cutoffs and that there's a syncopation on the second time through. So it's
space.
And even this, you don't hear
just that difference in rhythm.
Exactly.
The note length.
Yeah.
You know the story about this being an R&B thing. Here's some trivia. When Steve Lukather came in and he was going to play that.
Sure.
Now, Eddie's already on it.
Eddie's on it.
And he and Eddie, at this point, it's 1982. They know each other well, and they're friendly. So it's no hard feelings. Just Eddie just dropped the solo in there.
Eddie's Eddie. Yeah.
And then Quincy Jones had Steve Lukather play the rest of the stuff on the album, frankly. So Lukather says, well, I'm gonna kind of, create Eddie's tone for the whole track. So he says, so I've got multiple Marshalls. I got Marshall stacks, and I'm going to play it like 4 or 5 times, like these huge layers. And Quincy Jones says, okay, that's just too much rock.
Yeah,
because
right.
I still need to appeal to the R&B audience. This has got to be a pop chart and the R&B chart. And so he says, just get that little deluxe you use and just double track it. We don't need all that. So this is actually a pared back thing as per the producer who's aware of this. Is like, yeah, but Michael's previous album is Off the Wall, was a massive R&B and pop success, but don't forget, he's still coming out of the R&B world. And so, Quincy is really, really cognizant.
He's trying to stay,
just close enough. Same thing with The Girl Is Mine, the McCartney duet. I think that was the very first thing they tracked for the album. So Lukather's meeting Michael Jackson and Paul for the first time. Anyway, but
in fact, the story about that is amazing when he describes that, just being in the room with the.
Well, can you imagine?
If you show up and there's like Gandhi, Christ,
Nelson Mandela.
Nelson Mandela.
Yeah, because George Martin and Quincy Jones. Anyway, it's a star-studded event, but there is a mind to kind of keep some sort of funk, and that's Jeff Porcaro on drums. Most people, I don't know if you know the name, but he played with Toto and tons of session work out of Los Angeles in the 80s and stuff. So anyway, back to I don't know, just the guitar deal, and your voice is centered. We got Dave M. running the. Hey, Dave, you want a job that pays nothing every Wednesday?
Mermaid
we could
platter.
Use you. Oh, that's a reference. Oh, anyway, back to the song. We're gonna run out of time again.
Well, so moving along to the other parts of the song. So there's a couple top lines in this song. There's not a ton of them though. Mm-hmm. The song is fairly sparse, and there's a ton of vocals, and they're left, right, center.
Yeah.
The background vocals come in, and they're really well timed as well, clearly. Mm-hmm. And that's the kind of thing I remember being a kid and thinking like, well, why is this so hard? Because it sounds
making a record.
Yeah, I mean, just it didn't seem like it was something that was all that hard. Oh. And it was like, oh no, it's extremely hard. Yeah, exactly.
I got you. Now I understand.
It's extremely hard, and it's really hard to make everything lock together like that.
I remember I was making a record years and years and years ago, and I thought, there was a slide guitar solo. And what would be cool? I'll do the George Harrison thing. Yeah. And I'll double track it. I'll play it in unison.
Sure.
That was a lot harder.
Good luck on that one.
That was a lot harder than.
Yeah.
I was like, you have to. So there's no frets anymore.
Well, this is why bands used to record after they came off the road. So they'd go on the road. They totally hate each other by the end.
That's right.
But they're wearing each other's clothes.
Yeah.
So that's a thing.
Yeah.
And then
it is.
It's my shirt now.
Yeah.
And then and then they go into track, and it's like you just literally can read other people's minds.
Oh yeah.
He's going to scratch. He scratched. I don't even know where he is.
So one of the parts that one of the things that I was attracted to as a kid was the scratchy little.
Yeah.
I thought that was really hip.
Right.
And very melodic and kind of, I don't know, I thought it sounded nice and aggressive, and apparently Michael because, as you were saying, Michael would make demos and it's all just his voice. He's singing all the instruments.
Just multi-tracking his voice.
Just multi-tracking his voice. And I guess he had this, and Lukather says that it's gonna get a little samey after a while. Can we try something just a little different? And so his idea was to, and then refer to the D.
Sure.
Again, triads, people. It's just triads. That's
Yeah.
it. That's all you need for a nice part.
And when you hear these guys talk about it, they picked things that they could do that they knew they could do accurately, perfectly. You know what I mean? Like so that they could really be insanely clean about the doing and not. I can do this, but I can maybe not do it at 100% if it's something really tricky.
Sure.
You know what I mean? And then also the audience. I mean, that song doesn't sound simple to anybody else, right? I mean, it sounds like a cool song.
Oh no, what do you guys think?
Yeah. I'm seeing a question. Define top line?
Yeah, define top line.
There, it's like a colloquialism, so it's never used perfectly in the same way, to be honest, John. But it usually means when somebody writes the melody to like a vocal line, or when there's a top line, like whatever's sitting on the top, frequency-wise. So, like when he's playing
the highest note going on.
Yeah.
So if you're play the So that's the main rhythm, right? So here comes the top line guitar part. Now we can argue as to which of those two parts is more important, but the fact of the matter is the part I was playing was above his in pitch.
Yeah, this is definitely a foundation part.
Yeah, that's technically the top line.
Yeah.
But with Dylan, what you're saying is this song doesn't really have like a guitar other than that bit right there, which just comes in and out.
Yeah.
It's not like it has
a ton of guitar parts.
A ton of guitar parts, right.
I mean, it has a ton of the same guitar part over and over again, multi-tracked. And he must have had that amp pegged, by the way, like the deluxe reverb.
Right? Oh,
yeah.
gosh, yeah. So you get that really nasty tone.
Yeah.
But,
the solo.
I mean, let me just ask you, though, before instead of like, let's take Eddie and his legendary performance.
Yeah.
Set that aside. How do you, as a gigging musician, go about learning that solo?
Yeah.
And did you know it before you had the This Was It gig?
I probably did. Yeah, I think I did.
At some point, you had probably learned it.
Yeah,
over the
I
years.
learned it probably when I was young.
Yeah.
Here's the hardest thing is until about 10 or 15 years ago, there really wasn't a resource that you could learn that solo. In fact, even when you would go buy a Hal Leonard book that Wolf Marshall maybe had transcribed, which is one of the top transcribers of the day and probably still is now.
Gosh, that guy really...
He's done like that, yeah. But, even those things can sometimes be wrong, especially when you have a song or something like this that has so many notes in it, because there's a lot of notes that you might not even be able to hear. We could sit here and go like, is that a G? Is that not a G? There's a part in the song.
Can I go? I'm going to tie it on you. Is that cool?
Yeah, sure.
Wait, that's not you. That's me.
Let's see if I can see myself when I'm doing this.
Oh, no.
Okay. Oh, so I need to do this more.
There you go.
See, now it looks good. So this is really hard to play sitting down, you guys. So this kind of stretches. This is probably tapped, actually, by Eddie, and I'm not tapping it. So because he probably tapped it, and I just don't tap it. That's something like when I was a kid.
But if I close my eyes, I wouldn't know the difference.
You wouldn't know the difference. And that's just something that from playing Dimebag Darrell solos when I was a kid.
Oh, nice.
I was an anti-tapper. I mean, I tapped a lot, but there was a I wasn't tap-tastic.
Almost like it's a modality that you're in. It's
Yeah.
like I'm going to allow myself to tap on this song, but then on the next song, you might have a very similar solo. Like, that's not a tapping.
Well, and it's also like it's really just a facility thing. So if you can get your tapping hand over here fast enough, so I can't even do it without doing that. So it's probably a lot easier.
You adapted pretty quickly there. That's
but
pretty impressive.
this way to me is a lot easier on the fly
Because you can do the stretch.
And you guys got to think. So they're going, yeah, baby, yeah, bring it on now. Come on, Papa. And I'm like, okay, well, wait a minute. Let's not go overboard. So you have to walk to the front of the stage and be like, yeah, you with me tonight. And then you put your foot up on something and
hopefully a monitor.
Yeah, pretty much. If you're prone to anxiety, that's when it's going to hit. Is right around there because they're expecting you to do this like very, very fine motor skill thing with a lot of noise and chaos all around you and
I think of it just
live performance.
It's a live performance, so the audience is revved up. You've got the rest of the band. You got dancers, and
they're all expecting you to perform.
and they're moving around too.
Oh, are you kidding? Yeah.
And meanwhile, you're actually trying to balance a
somehow
tea tray.
Yes.
of of fine china on uneven ground on a turbulent plane.
Yeah. It's gonna work, Jerry Lewis. And so I think that I fall back on my strengths, and I go, I'm gonna use my way of doing this because I'm not Eddie Van Halen. I think Eddie would have actually said, you know what? I think it's a good idea. I think you should do the way that fits you.
Do you know, John Waby has another salient question. If one is doing an authorized transcription like Wolf would have did for decades, do you get the masters or do you have to pick it out from the album like everyone else?
You know, that's really hard to say.
I think back in the day, honestly, John, from what I understand, they would just have the record, but they would play it at a slower speed so they could hear the articulation and the notes clear. Now, obviously, it's a wildly different pitch, so they would just adjust for that. This is one, and actually, this is how a lot of original musicians, jazz musicians especially, would learn parts. They would buy the 78 and they would basically ruin it by just putting their finger on it and slowing it down and just going that way.
Yeah,
so
that's burnt out my little
nowadays.
record player.
Of course, once things got digital, you can slow things down without affecting the pitch, and it's a lot easier to do that now. But
so what has happened from digital, and this is a whole nother conversation, is people tend to very peripherally learn things to begin with, and so because they're like, oh, I could do so many things, and when you had 178 and one record player and or 5 records, you kind of you're gonna learn those 5, and you'd know those 5 really well. Yeah.
So let's just
play
how
it.
do you play the solo?
Yeah, let's play it together.
Okay,
we'll play it together and we'll dissect it.
But are you gonna? Okay, so just tell
if
me
you
when
start,
to
I'll tell you when to. That's the whole thing. That's it. I probably got out of frame on that because.
Oh, maybe I switched to you at the
clench my entire body to do any amount.
We went with the wide shot. We went.
And, when you go online and listen to people play this live, it's you can kind of tell that it's a really tricky solo because you can hear, if you're a guitar player, you can hear that it's like there's some notes getting chipped and dropped there.
But is it because you have to shift from one position to the next a lot, or why
it's
is
just because it's like 64th notes. I mean, there's
because it's 64th notes.
Literally, I don't know. It might be 30-second notes, but it's really, really, really fast.
Yeah.
And very difficult to get into position without transitions. And Eddie Van Halen, if you watch him, his guitar's up like this when he's playing.
That's right.
It's way up here.
That's right.
Where a cat man could actually do that. And so that hasn't been popular since Vivaldi era.
I don't.
Or maybe a little later, but still
played a Strat.
And Vivaldi plays.
I don't know, sure. But so again, I'm going to go tight on.
Yeah, we go tight.
Just walk us through like the first couple of moves, positions. Are we talking like a certain scale?
Yeah, we're talking E minor, pentatonic, and E minor, Aeolian, or E Aeolian.
Oh, okay.
Throughout, yeah.
But
it's not going to be that obvious. And then I'm having trouble getting the old harmonics to come out on this guitar today, but we'll see what happens.
Sorry to hear about that.
Go for it.
I thought you like kind of slow. Is there no?
Oh yeah,
slow?
sure.
You want to do it slow? Play it.
Sure.
Now that I just want to see if you just show them what the first move is. Like let's say these guys were private students.
Absolutely. Okay. So you start with the strings slacking. Hear that? The thunder rolls, and then you're gonna let that rise up on this 4. And then this is what's called a tap harmonic.
So you're hitting that string exactly 12 frets above where you're fretting it.
And here's where I'm more into tube amps because I can use less distortion and get those to come out on a tube amp.
The tube compression when you
and the feedback, feedback.
And
on solid state amps, for me, I don't know how to do it as well. But so let's see. So when I'm here,
it's not as I got you.
And if you think of the song, what's it? Dance the Night Away. He does all the chords are. He's doing that the whole time.
But he's going through a real tube amp.
Yes, he is.
So they come out real nice.
And they come out real clear and chimey.
Yeah.
So then from that point, you have. And this is where he probably did a tap. I really can't do that part slow.
Aeolian?
So this is the notes B, D,
F sharp?
Yeah, F sharp, E, G, and then B.
Wow.
And you're going to see different transcriptions of this online. It's so fast, you guys, that good luck like parsing that out. But and then from there, there's we have like a natural harmonic with whammy. And then from here, so
it's interesting. He was up at the top of the neck there for a second ago, and then he goes all the way to the bottom.
All the way down.
So that's kind of part of the. So listen, like there's an arc. Obviously, it starts as low as possible because it's the open strings, but with the whammied all the way down as far as he could, and that comes up, and then he kind of ascends the neck into that fancy E Aeolian thing. Then he works himself back down to open position.
Absolutely,
right?
yeah. And if you think about like a John Coltrane line, right? So John Coltrane was famous for these really long 3-octave lines that spanned 8 measures.
Right.
You know, so they would start. They would just go all the way up and all the way back, but on a saxophone. You know, so that's kind of the equivalent here. Is like a complete guitar, you know, coverage basically. And a lot when you're listening to like Polyphony and the newer groups, obviously they're all building off of, and even Nuno Bettencourt and other people that came after Eddie. Yeah. Sort of had the advantage of having someone traverse that. I'm not saying Eddie was the only person to do it.
No, but I hear you. I know what you mean.
Yeah.
It's sort of like, wow, you can. It is really impressive to play in the style of Eddie Van Halen.
Yeah.
But at some point you realize, but he had to do it first.
He had to, and in this style, he did it first for
That's
sure.
what I mean. Yeah.
Was there other jazz players, Django Reinhardt and other people that were all over the neck? Yeah, of course. But what's interesting is,
but Michael Jackson never had Django on his record.
He did. I don't.
Never came up.
There was a finger.
He and Quincy probably didn't get along for some reason.
Django gave him
so
a finger.
So I'm sorry, you were down at the bottom of the neck again. You're doing
so we're over here,
soupy stuff,
and these are dive bomb type of deals, right? And those are really good things to be able to vocalize on your guitar, like the horsey squeals and the dive bomb.
Some people have a theory. Some people have a theory that that Eddie is essentially, with all that stuff, he's imitating David Lee Roth's squeals and screams and stuff. These whoops and hollers. And, David Lee Roth had that weird harmonic that he could do those 2 notes.
I know. Yeah.
And he's kind of just doing that. Wow,
yeah.
It's like he's doing that on guitar, and I was like, I kind of buy this theory.
I met David Lee Roth once in Sun City, of all places.
That must have been fun.
And he was awesome, by the way. He was so cool. I loved him. Yeah. I was like, can we? I want
to be a fun guest.
Can I come to your? Yeah, I would love to.
He's just talking, man.
So cool.
He's just telling stories.
Yeah, he was really awesome, actually. So
I'm sorry. Go back to your.
Well, anyway, so then you got the horsey squeals or dive bombs. And, you could do that exactly like he does it. I'm not necessarily like an archivalist. I'm trying to get the general. There's so much movement on the solo that I'm trying to get the general feel of it and go from there.
Now you're back up at 12th fret position.
And then
that looked like just good old E minor pentatonic blues right there for a second.
But it really, 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 when you hear him play pentatonic scale, the precision level is so fantastic.
Right, there's no, I got you.
I mean, there's just no, it's exactly what he wants.
Yeah.
And you can hear the perfectionism in his playing.
Right, he's not just like raking his right hand across the strings. And
No.
Just whatever happens.
Tactician. And go on and listen to this live, by the way. There's a couple recordings that are decent live. Not a ton, by the way. There's a few videos because I think we're 1984 or 1985 by touring time.
The Jacksons go on the Victory Tour, the year later, and Eddie pops in at least once that I know of.
So 85, 84, something like that. And so the audio's not amazing, but it's he basically plays the solo that he plays in the studio exactly as, but it's his
which
guitars,
he probably only played once.
I mean, so. That was amazing.
Prior.
I don't know. He might have spliced the solo, to be honest with you, because it's.
I think that sounds about right.
I think he did.
I think that's the way he liked.
So for those of you that don't know, by splice, Slice is something. It was a soda that went out of business in the 90s. Splice, however, is when you take the tape and you splice your part so that you can like have multiple cuts. Back in the day, so you can have a lot of takes on the same thing. He may have not have spliced it at all, though. Maybe
I don't know. I think he did. That's part of the story about how the tape machines got screwed up.
Oh, really?
And it was that the way Eddie wanted to do it was to splice. So there's two track machines running songs.
There you go.
But that's what Jimmy Page did
Probably
a lot of
on
his
SIMD
solos that
and
way.
that.
It just kind of
Yeah.
keeps playing through there, and then you start
start
grabbing
picking your parts.
the best parts
Yeah.
from each solo or reperform it. You want me to do the David Lee Roth sounds again? Sorry, I need money. I need money
Those
at this
only,
point.
yeah, we need money for those because
exactly.
David, we're going to start getting hit up.
Yeah, the shifting Ferrari was another sound that Eddie could do. But
So from that point, and he finishes off. It sounds like
that's C major to D major.
exactly.
Right?
So 2, 3, 4. And that's tremolo picking, right? So this is a really great thing for you guys to practice.
Helps to have a lighter pick.
Yeah, I don't have a lighter pick, but it probably would actually. But if you can practice tremolo picking, that's really going to help you get your picking down in general.
One tip for tremolo picking, I believe. Correct. This is just one tip. Is sometimes when you're working on it, oddly enough, start slow, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
But when you're doing after you play through the string. Let's see. After you play, it's not going to really make sense on camera. As soon as you play through the string, you make the first note. Try to make sure the pick immediately touches the string from the bottom. That is, it's almost like the pick never stops touching the string. So you don't want to do this. You don't want to like pluck.
Yeah,
like
the distance you go away
all the way down like this. You're gonna. So part of it's just almost like
it's a counterweight.
The pick's
thing.
on top of the string, and then it just goes right to the bottom of the string, but it's always touching.
Yeah.
And that's kind of one thing that's just to get the feel for tremolo picking.
And this is going to be required for all the that's all that same style of picking.
Right, the popcorn
You're going to have to have a
stuff
lot
that
of
you get
popcorn ability. Yeah.
In soul and funk and
Yeah.
Blondie.
God, it's
Heart of
everywhere.
Glass.
It's in country.
Yeah.
It's all
in country
over
for
country.
sure. Oh yeah, well that's where we did Neon Moon a few weeks ago, and then
yeah. This is why people need to
have techniques.
Well, no, it's just that guitar is a percussive instrument. When you really get down to it, yes, it makes notes. It makes some notes, but I mean, its unique ability is that it strums. Other than a harp, those are the only two ones that come to mind. There may be other ones, but ubiquitous.
That's interesting. I never thought about that. Yeah, that you can strum because a piano you can't strum. That's
you can stand up, but it's going to be weird. Yeah.
But no, that we can strum.
Yeah.
For a pianistic quality in a way.
Yeah, exactly.
But even though a piano can't do that, but we can also arpeggiate notes too.
And a strum, if you think about it, a strum is a tambourine, basically.
That's I think we may have mentioned it before, but Dave Grohl's mentioned that when he writes his riffs, he still writes them as a drummer, so he thinks of the bottom three strings as his kick drum.
Oh yeah.
And the top three strings are a snare. And I think I mentioned this. I don't know if it was in the workshop, which we're going to start in about 2 minutes, or if I mentioned on this show. But that's the thing. If you're trying to write a riff. Steal a drum lick.
Yeah.
Just try have fun. Like try and play a drum lick, but play it on guitar, and just like use a power chord or use a minor chord, right? So like you can. Well, that's almost like a double kick drum pattern.
Yeah, right.
So that's just a creative idea, if you will. So, any final words in the last 60 seconds about Eddie Van Halen and Beat It and what Lucas?
It's hard.
Did?
It's very
really
hard. I think that everybody focuses on the tapping part of it. It's a lot harder to do the other parts, actually.
Yeah, like that pencil, that.
Yeah, and make it sound just like Eddie.
Sure.
And even the whammy bar stuff working with the whammy bar to get yourself to the right pitch every single time without any thought can be
that's
tricky.
a good point. Also, you got locking tuners.
Right. You're going to need those. I can actually do it on one of my Fender guitars, and as long as the strings have been on there long enough, I can get away with it. It's really bizarre.
Really?
It's got the roller nuts in it.
Okay. Wow.
And
that's impressive.
I know. Isn't that neato? Yeah.
Not tangled up tapes. Get out the pencils. Oh, those were the days.
Yeah.
Those were the days. Exactly. All right. Well, so those of you that have signed up for the workshop, we'll see you over there. For everyone else, we will see you here next week.
Thank have
you
a great
so much
week
for this. I know you played this a lot this weekend, actually, listeners. So we'll go out just a bit here. Ready? Let's go. I'm going to put out here. 1, 2. I'll play any part you want. 1, 2. hoping for.
Beat it. Just like the record.